Was the Lakers thing even remotely close?
Yeah. To my knowledge, I thought it was a done deal. So I was like, I'm gonna get away for a couple days, take my mind off it. And by the time I come home, be free agency, hey, signing with the Lakers.
DeMar DeRozan was on Old Man in the Three this past week. And in that interview, he confirmed something that we kind of knew, but weren't for sure about, that he was basically a Los Angeles Laker without just signing the contract. It was a done deal. His agent had already gotten everything. They were planning on getting the move on the way. And then the Russell Westbrook trade happened. And DeMar, if you listen to the interview, you could tell that the man was definitely hurt by this.
Emotional damage.
This was his homecoming. This is his opportunity to go play for the team that he admired growing up. And it didn't happen because the Lakers decided they wanted another star. Russell Westbrook was the star. DeMar was the guy that used to be a star or a fringe star. And then San Antonio happened and his star caliber dropped, tanked, gone. And then last season happened. We got to play the results a little bit. And DeMar, although he didn't finish that great through the early part of the season, we know how well DeMar played. He was playing at an MVP caliber level. I think this one is just another example of the Lakers front office making a huge misstep. And it sucks for them too, that it gets to play out in the public because DeMar put it on one of the most famous basketball sports podcasts out there with JJ Redick.
Yeah, that is, that's something that we always kind of knew existed. But of course, because the news was reported that Buddy Hield was going to the Lakers in exchange for Kentavious Caldwell-Pope and Kyle Kuzma, because that deal was reported, that was the story that ended up taking precedent. I'll never forget that. I was in an airport. I was in the line for TSA, and it was announced that Buddy Hield was going to the Lakers. And then 40 minutes later, Russell Westbrook was going to the Lakers for the same package, plus like Montrezl Harrell and a first-round pick going to Washington. I'll never forget how stupid that was. But what was kind of lost in that was that, yeah, the Lakers had talks with DeMar DeRozan. DeMar DeRozan was technically a free agent. The Lakers would have had to do a sign-and trade, which would have broke Greg Popovich's heart. But, you know, he didn't have much of a choice when it came to DeRozan leaving. It was either spike the Lakers and get nothing or get Kyle Kuzma in return. And I think they would have gone for it.
At Media Day, Greg confirmed, Coach Pop confirmed that he's in it just for the paycheck at this point. So it's fine. I think he could have let it go.
Yeah. I think that they would have facilitated a trade and got something in between. They did end up facilitating a trade with Chicago, and they got, like, if you follow the winding path of trade, they basically got like a first round pick for DeMar DeRozan because they like got Thaddeus Young and traded Thaddeus Young for anyways. But that it would have been something totally plausible and totally could have happened. The Lakers just messed up real bad.
If the Lakers did end up with DeMar, how do you think that would have changed their 2021-2022 season?
Well, in fairness, they wouldn't have gone from missing the playoffs to like winning the championship. DeMar DeRozan's a great player. He's not that great of a player because the Lakers had so many injuries, but the Lakers would have been the Bulls last year. They would have been in the playoffs, win one playoff game, and then get bounced. I mean, Anthony Davis wouldn't have played the whole playoffs, but at least you have a semi-healthy LeBron and DeMar DeRozan. They wouldn't have just called it quits at the end of the season.
I think it's more notable given how bad Russell Westbrook played last season. The guy led the league in turnovers. The guy was his normal 30% three-point shooting self. I think that when you consider that and you just put that against the raw numbers that DeMar DeRozan was putting up last year, the guy averaged 27.9, basically 28 points per game, was over 50% from the field, 35% three-point shooter, 87% free throw shooter. You just add those statistics, and I know that players aren't chess pieces you could just move around at will, but putting those numbers, if I could just put those numbers on last year's version of the Lakers, like you said, I don't know if they're a championship team. There's a lot of things that have to break right from an injury standpoint for the Lakers to be a championship team again. But man, I'd be looking at this team at least as a second round playoff team. You know, look about the teams that we're in. I mean, they were better than last year's version of the Nikola Jokic led Denver Nuggets with no stars around him. If you had DeMar and LeBron, at least I think that those are two guys that you just go into battle with on a given night. If they added, like you mentioned, a Buddy Hield, someone who's more competent from a 3-point shooting range, and someone that pairs with LeBron James, hell, just having that combo of DeMar, Hield, LeBron, that's just infinitely better than what they had. And their refusal to include like THT in trades last year was another storyline that kind of lingered around the Lakers. A lot of questions for Pelinka in that front office. This just got to hurt. If you're Rob Pelinka, if you're the front office coming off of this interview being publicly posted out there and hindsight being 2020, you have to think that this is the year if things don't break right for the Lakers.
It's so bad.
It's championship or bust for them.
Oh, but the Lakers can't win a championship. That's over now. Lakers can't win a championship.
So basically, it's bust for them.
You got to change your expectations, of course. And from the DeRozan standpoint, like I know adding a 3-point shooter is important. DeMar DeRozan's not a great 3-point shooter, but there's this weird thing about the NBA where the way the sport is set up and analytics and data tell us that even if you're not a great 3-point shooter, just keep shooting threes. The best thing is the 3-point shot is still, for a not great 3-point shooter, better than a mid-range 2-pointer. Now, the difference with DeRozan is a great mid-range 2-point shooter. So the math changes there a little bit. But the thing in San Antonio, DeRozan only took 1.7. I haven't looked at it in a while. It's somewhere between 1 and 2 3-point shots a game his last season in San Antonio. And he took 3.5 last year for the Chicago Bulls. And look at how the numbers changed. DeRozan, just keep shooting threes, even if you aren't a great 3-point shooter, because that shot is so valuable. So even if they don't add the shooting that they didn't have last year, they still would have been okay. DeRozan could have at least spaced the floor better than Westbrook, which again, this year, Westbrook's not going to play on the floor at the same time as AD and LeBron, except for in crunch time.
So officially he was 1.9 3-point attempts per game, which isn't a lot, but at least hitting them at a more respectable clip. 35%, good. You're not a 50, 40, 90 guy, but 35 you can live with. Compare that to Russ last season. He was attempting 3.4. He was attempting more 3-pointers. So he's kind of doing what you said, just attempt more, except the problem is he was 29.8%.
Yeah, the Lakers would have preferred someone else shoot the 3-pointers, but the problem also is that Westbrook was so ball dominant that it meant LeBron and AD were kind of just standing around as Westbrook did that. And so let's also be fair to Westbrook. Westbrook was not as bad as everyone was saying last year. He just became the punching bag for the Lakers because he had shots that hit the backboard.
And hey, that is the danger for DeMar, because DeMar, be careful what you wish for. If he did end up with the Lakers and the Lakers aren't competing for a championship, still playoff team, but aren't competing for a championship, then all of that blame goes to DeMar DeRozan. It's an unfair position sometimes that you end up in when you are on these LeBron James-led teams, but it's just kind of what you're signing up for. I think with DeMar, at least he could have kind of washed it away in the sense, I'm coming home, I'm with the Lakers, things are fine. Like you said, they could have been as good as last year's version of the Bulls. But it's also a shame, too, if you're Russell Westbrook, obviously a guy who played for UCLA, a guy from Los Angeles himself. He also had to get that experience and live.
Yeah, they treated him like Dwight Howard. That was the dumbest thing I've ever seen. The Lakers fans absolutely destroyed him because Lakers fans are losers, and they're not even just losers, they're also lazy. They just do the same shit over and over with different players. One year it's Danny Green, one year it's Dennis Schroeder, one year it's Lonzo, one year it's Kuzma. Now it's Westbrook.
It's not just Lakers fan. It's not. It really is a LeBron James team type thing. These happen every year because we look at the 2018 Cavaliers, and I'll be the first to admit the Cavaliers that year were an awful team put together, but every single piece on that team that wasn't named LeBron James just got absolutely lambasted at every opportunity. Kevin Love, after putting on a Cleveland Cavaliers jersey, yes, he was rewarded in the sense he got his championship ring, but every year, it just seemed like he was just getting criticized.
Dude, to your point, Saturday Night Live did skits about how bad the Cavs bench was. Saturday Night Live was doing skits about the Cavs bench, cleaning LeBron's jersey and like picking up his laundry and taking care of his kids. And their point guard was a Roomba.
Yeah.
Like
Even
everyone was getting those
even
jokes.
Go back
off.
to the Heatles. Aside from the big three, and actually too, even with the big three, Chris Bosh was taking a lot of heat while they were winning championships. And that bench was taking a lot of heat as well. One of those things where it's a gift and a curse, because it was a gift when LeBron James was in his prime, because LeBron could elevate you. And even though you had to deal with the criticism, you always knew that a finals appearance was on the other side. Now that you don't have that same assurity, I think that now it's kind of just all risk, not a lot of reward, or at least the reward kind of has a capped ceiling. If you're a guy like Russell Westbrook, it sucks because you went from all-time great, beloved by many, to bum who basically could just be looked at as a street free agent. But
I just can't believe that. That's Westbrook's in the like Carmelo Anthony phase of his career where everyone just makes fun of him because he thinks he's the player he used to be. And if Westbrook just decides to become John Wall and come off the bench, people will fall in love with Westbrook again. It's the dumbest thing, and sports fans do it. And it's silly. And if it had been DeRozan, it wouldn't have looked as bad as this. I mean, obviously DeRozan would have taken the heat, but I think DeMar DeRozan, someone who's been very public about being depressed and trying to seek help, I think people would have given him at least a little bit better benefit of a doubt than Westbrook.
Little bit, and it wouldn't have looked as bad. It wouldn't have looked as bad because DeMar's not going to turn over the ball as much as Russ did. Part of the problem is just, and this is not calling Russ dumb or anything, this is saying he makes dumb plays. Russ makes dumb plays, and I think Russell Westbrook could admit to it, or at least you'd like to think that he would admit to it. His post-game press conferences wouldn't suggest it, but I think that there has to be a certain level of self-reflection. A lot of those turnovers were on Russell Westbrook, and if you were just watching the Lakers game, you have to just be groaning every time he just makes one of these abysmal turnovers. DeMar's not going to do that. So I think from an optics standpoint, last year he would have not put himself as much as public enemy number one as Russ ended up doing. I think that would have been the biggest difference between the two guys. Last year, like I said, if the Lakers made this move, I think they'd be better. I don't know if they're championship better. That's all going to be, like you mentioned, dependent on health. But, it's fun for Lakers fans to dream, think about the what if possibilities here. And I appreciate JJ Redick, old man in the three, for asking these questions, getting this out there on a public forum. So thanks for the content today, guys. Drop below in the comments section, how do you think DeMar DeRozan would have affected the 2021-2022 Lakers, and certainly the Lakers' future had they made that deal? Leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, follow us on social media, all that information down below in our YouTube bio. Stay safe, happy, and healthy, and we'll see you on the next one.